Have you ever looked at the news and just wondered why some common sense policies, the ones that would create massive public benefits, the ones most people actually support, just never seem to happen? It's a huge puzzle in modern democracy. Well, today we're diving into a fascinating idea, a mechanism designed to solve that exact problem. Now, I know this sounds super cynical to just come out and say your opinion doesn't count in politics, but according to a major academic study, it's alarmingly close to the truth. Researchers looked at decades of U.S. policy decisions, and they came to a pretty stark conclusion about how much influence the average citizen really has. And this chart, wow, it just lays it all out. Researchers Martin Gilens and Benjamin Page went through almost 1,800 different policy decisions, and what they found is right here. Look at the bar for average citizens. Whether a policy had 0% public support or 100% public support, its chance of becoming law pretty much flatlines at around 30%. It just doesn't move. But now, look at the preferences of economic elites. As their support goes up, boom, so does the chance of a policy passing. The data is pretty clear. Your opinion has almost no statistical impact on policy. So why? Why does this happen? Well, the economist Mansur Olson explained it perfectly. It's basically a battle between two different kinds of interests. On one side, you have these small, incredibly organized groups with a ton to gain or lose for each individual. Think of an industry lobbyist fighting for one specific regulation. And on the other side, well, that's the general public. We're a massive group, but for any single issue, the stakes for each of us individually are tiny, which makes it almost impossible to get organized. And in that fight, the small, motivated group wins almost every time. Okay, so if the problem isn't necessarily bad people, but a system that has bad incentives, then what if we could hack those incentives? What if we could actually make supporting the public good the most rational, self-interested choice a politician could possibly make? Yeah, that really is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? And the paper we're looking at today offers a pretty radical and fascinating answer. It's something called an incentive alignment bond. At its core, an incentive alignment bond, or an IAB, is a tool that's designed to just completely flip the script. It's a way to create powerful, concentrated benefits for politicians who vote for policies that have these broad, diffuse public benefits. It's all about aligning their personal incentives with the public good. So how does it work? Well, it's pretty clever. It creates this kind of self-reinforcing loop with three key features. First, you align investors. They only make a profit if the public good policy actually gets passed. Second, you align the politicians. They get tangible career benefits for supporting it. And third, and this part is absolutely critical, the whole system is funded by redirecting money from less effective or even harmful government programs. Okay, so that's the big idea, but you're probably thinking, how on earth does this actually work in practice without being, illegal? Well, the answer lies in this really smart three-layer architecture. It all kicks off with data, just pure, simple data. Layer 1 is an independent, nonpartisan research group, kind of like the League of Conservation Voters, that creates a public scorecard. It just tracks and rates politicians based on how they vote on a specific public good issue. It's totally objective, it's transparent, and it's all based on public information. Layer 2 is where that score gets connected to real political power. You have independent groups, like super PACs, who publicly announce, way ahead of time, something like, we are going to spend $20 million supporting any candidate from any party who scores above a 75 on the public goods scorecard. All of a sudden, you've created a really powerful and direct incentive to get a good score. And finally, Layer 3 aligns their long-term career path. Prestigious foundations or think tanks can announce that getting a high score is a key factor for landing those lucrative fellowships or board seats after a politician leaves office. This basically co-opts that whole revolving door between government and the private sector, but points it in the direction of public service. Now, the first question pretty much everyone asks is, wait a minute, isn't that just bribery? And that is a crucial point, so let's look at the legal distinction. Bribery is a private, secret deal for a specific vote. It's a quid pro quo. This IAB system is the complete opposite. It's public, it's universal, meaning it applies to everyone, and it's based on pre-announced rules that reward a whole class of policies, not just one specific vote. Legally, this is way closer to how groups like the NRA or major environmental organizations already work. So, this brings us to the money. To make this whole thing work, you need investors. But why would they fund this? Well, it turns out influencing politics is already the most profitable game in town. This quote from the source material just completely reframes the issue. It says political advocacy isn't charity, it's a high-yield asset class. The money spent to influence policy isn't a donation, it's an investment with returns that can absolutely dwarf anything you'd see in the stock market. ABS are just a way to open up this asset class to fund public goods. I mean, just look at this number. It is insane. According to one analysis, for every single dollar the top 5 defense contractors spent on lobbying, they got back over $180,000 in government contracts. That's an 181,000% return. The ROI on political influence is astronomical. AIBs just want to capture a tiny piece of that value for public benefit. And here's another really critical point. This is not about printing more money. Just adding new spending often gets eaten up by inflation or deficit spending. No. The real power of an IAB comes from redirecting funds. You take money from a program that gives us little or even negative social value, and you move it to one that provides huge positive value. And this table just makes the concept crystal clear. The source material actually ranks government spending by its net social value. So look here, spending $1 on fossil fuel subsidies is estimated to create a net social loss of over $4 because of externalities like climate change. But now, look at the other end of the spectrum. Every dollar we spend on medical research can generate anywhere from $3 to over $100 in social value. The IAB's goal is simple: fund the political will to move money from the bottom of this list to the top. So once you have a mechanism like this, the potential applications are honestly breathtaking. Imagine applying this tool to some of the world's biggest collective action problems, incentivizing real, meaningful action on climate change, making sure we are truly prepared for the next pandemic, or maybe even making progress on nuclear disarmament. These are the kinds of problems that feel impossible with our current setup. And really, that's the final thought this whole idea leaves us with. It's a tool. A blueprint for hacking our political system to solve problems that seem completely stuck. It doesn't require us to hope for better politicians. It just asks us to design a smarter system where their own self-interest finally aligns with ours. So it really makes you wonder, which impossible problem should we decide to fix first?